Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to season 2, episode 19 of the P.W.P sessions. I'm your host, Noelle Figueroa. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Tonight's guest is Gabriella Stella. And I'm looking forward to an awesome conversation and another great episode. But before we dive into the conversation, I'm going to do a brief introduction. For those of you not familiar with this podcast, the P.W.P sessions or the Poets for Purpose sessions is a podcast that I created where I interview new or established authors of poetry, as well as rappers or MCs. I feature a performance of their work, and there is a audience Q&A session at the end. I am your host, Noelle Figueroa. I am a poet, author, blogger, workshop facilitator, and event host, and I am the creator of the P.W.P sessions. Now, tonight's guest is poet Gabriella Stella, and this is her bio. Gabriella Stella is a poetess who uses poetry to express her most raw emotions. She is the founder of the House of Expression, where she helps poets evolve and express themselves as writers in an emotionally safe and supportive space. The House of Expression was featured in the 2022 NYC Poetry Festival. Gabriella has performed across the US and on international stages. She ran a show in Mexico called The Flow Show that is still running in Ireland, Mexico, and soon New York, with the mission to spread art further. Now, without further ado, I introduce Gabriella Stella. Hey, Gabriella, good evening. How you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Nice to meet you virtually. Thank you so much for being my guest tonight.
Nice to meet with you as well. I'm very excited to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm going to start with a question, basic question that I ask all my guests. But who is Gabriella Stella? How would you describe yourself or define yourself?
So, one thing about me is I do a lot of things, right? Like I do poetry, basketball, I'm an accountant, this, that, but I don't think anything that I actually do defines who I am. I think I'm much more than that. I would say that I'm a light, I'm a person who loves, and I want to spread that light further. I'm a compassionate person, I'm a family person. That's who I am at the core.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Now take me to the beginning of how your poetry journey started, because we all as poets, we all have different reasons or motivations for getting into poetry. What got you interested in the poetry?
So, poetry was something that came much later in my life, but I first started writing poems when I was in the seventh grade. I was going through a hard time with my personal life, and I just turned to poetry. And I had a box of poems hidden under my bed. I wrote for a year. I had a box of poems hidden under my bed, didn't show anybody. And then 3 years later, when everything happened with COVID and just myself adapting to the real world, my new accounting job, I faced anxiety and depression, and it just led me to write. I studied math and accounting in college. I never really studied the arts. I was a basketball player my whole life, but poetry just called me. And once I wrote one poem, it was called Shadows. It was the first poem I wrote in 10 years. I ended up writing 100 poems, and I just couldn't stop. And I became in love with poetry, and I'm still in love with poetry. So here we are.
Oh, excellent, excellent. What would you say is your motivation for writing poetry?
My motivation for writing poetry simply is because it feels right for me.
Mhm.
I only want to do things that feel good in my body. And on the simplest terms, it feels like God put this in my heart for a reason. So that is my motivation. Whatever his purpose is for me to keep writing and keep sharing my words, that's what I want for myself. So
Excellent, excellent. Now, when you first started writing, what were the first subjects that you got into with your writing? Like, what did you talk about when you first started?
so I still have a shoebox where my first poems are that I wrote in the seventh and eighth grade. And I was really angry at the time. I always felt like I didn't really fit in. I was a super tomboy at the time where like kicks and baggy sweatpants and all these Nike outfits, that wasn't really cool when I was growing up.
Mhm.
but that's who I was. I was a tomboy, slick hair, like the only girl playing with all the guys. Just always like a little bit different, and I always felt like I could understand things people my age couldn't. So I always felt like very isolated. I was bullied a lot because I just was a little bit different. So that's kind of what sparked this fire in me. I was basically like, F everybody.
Mhm.
I took that energy, channeled it in my poetry, but a lot of my poetry is like, I'm gonna put all this energy towards basketball and screw everybody.
Right. Right. So it was more or less an outlet for your frustrations or whatever you were dealing with at the time, would you say? Would you say that was
Yes.
excellent, excellent. Now, as you got into your writing, like who or what would you say was or who or what would you say helped you to develop your skills as a writer?
Karina G. Lopez.
Mm,
She gives it to me raw. She doesn't sugarcoat anything. Um, she's basically the first person to tell me like, you got to get this shit together. You got to level it up, and
mm.
I appreciate her for that.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Yeah, she's an awesome poet and author in her own right. So definitely, she's a valuable resource, as a mentor and an overall artist. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Now do you have any books published already, or are you in the process of putting a book together?
I am in the process, the very long process of working on a
Excellent.
book, but I'm working on it, so it's coming.
Excellent, excellent. What is that? How has that process been like for you so far?
Oh, it's been a complete journey because it feels like I've been working on this book forever. It's been a couple years now, but it's like I'm evolving so fast that like my style is evolving, my work is evolving. So I keep going back to my work and I'm like, no, this isn't it. Also, like my mindset is shifting. So where this book is going is like completely evolving from where it originally started. So it's a journey. Yes, it's a journey.
Right, right. And now do you consider this work to be self-published, or are you working with a publisher?
I'm most likely gonna self-publish, but we'll see.
Excellent, excellent. Now, what type of collection is this? Is it under a particular theme, or is it just like a general collection of poems?
So the chapters will probably be split into themes, but one thing about my poetry and when I perform is I really do take people on a roller coaster ride. Like you don't know what is coming next.
Mm,
And I like that. Like it really is a mix of highs and lows and everything in between.
mm.
Short, long. My poems are shorter for the most part, but like some really short poems, just whatever. Yeah, definitely a roller coaster.
Excellent, excellent. Now while you're putting this book together, I see you also doing work with House of Expression. Tell our audience what is House of Expression and how that came about.
So, one thing about me is I can be very fiery. And when I first started writing poetry 3 years ago, without any real knowledge about it, I just was like, I love poetry. I was like, I want to start a club. So I said, F it. And I started a club, even though now I look back and I'm like, that's embarrassing. Like I had so much evolving to do, but I still brought this group of poets together. And that's where I really learned from actually running workshops. I was running weekly workshops, weekly meetups, and I had to learn because now I have this group of poets who are hungry to become better and I need to help them become better because I wanted to provide that space. So we all kind of grew together and it's been years later we still talk like almost every day. There's like 25 of us, and we just really support each other. I flew to Atlanta. We have some members in Atlanta. There's members from all over the country. And we've really just, yeah, we've grown together and supported each other through life's ups and downs while we're still trying to chase our poetry dreams.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And like where are you as in terms of this group? Like where is the group now, and where do you hope to see the group, like let's say in the next 2 to 3 years?
So the group has evolved so much and changed at many points. At one point, we were meeting once a week for a long time, but I took a pause from that a few months ago to work on my own poetry because I needed to evolve as a poet. So I kind of took a pause from the weekly workshops, but right now we're just in contact every day. We're doing the poetry festival together for 2023. So still having like some events here and there, but I'm not exactly sure where this is going to lead. I know that it's left like lifelong connections. Um, so really with that such a strong core, it could go in any direction. But I know right now I needed to take a step back and focus on my work so that I could become better.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent. Now you mentioned Karina G. Lopez, awesome poet in her own right. Are there any other poets that you would give credit to as far as helping you develop your own writing style, or just being basically an inspiration to you?
Yes. Rupi Kaur is a very big inspiration to me because she's raw, she's classy, she really takes her time with the poems, and she's doing the thing. She's traveling the country, like she's just really doing it. So that's really inspiring to me that poetry can take you there and I can see it happen, So it
Definitely.
inspires me to dream big. Um, and Pablo Juan, I really love his work because his poems are very short. And there's something special about short poems because they leave more space for you to think and question. And I just think there's power if you can have a short poem and really like hit somebody with it. There was no fat in the poem, it was powerful. So those two poets really inspire me.
All right, excellent, excellent. Now, in terms of your writing presently, do you still cover the same subjects that you wrote about when you first started writing, or have you tackled new subjects? What subjects are you currently dealing with?
I go where the wind blows. So
Right,
every day, something different. I could see something different, a new perspective, this or that. I really just tune in to what, like, I tune into a higher power. I feel like I tune into source, God, a higher existence. And like, I feel like whatever comes through. And it could be very random. Like, I
right,
just created a piece yesterday that is not like anything I've ever created. Um, so it's just limitless. But I would say for the most part, my work is spiritual. I like to include the elements, nature. Um, yes, not always, but most of the time.
right, right. Would you say you write about certain subjects more than others, or do you feel like it's just a matter of you writing about what you feel at any given moment?
I would say in terms of subjects, I do tend to like talk about positive things a lot
Mhm.
in general, but that can also change. But really, there's not one specific subject.
Right, right. Now, if you would hear the word representation thrown around, in different circles from time to time. Like when it comes to you yourself in your writing, how important would you say it is for you to make sure that you're representing yourself in your writing in your totality? You know, whether you're talking about, womanhood, whether you're talking about, race, religion, all the things that pertain to you as a person and your lifestyle. How important is it to you to make sure that when you write and when you perform your work, that you're representing yourself in your totality?
Hmm, that's a very great question. It is important, and I've realized this as I got older. There's like extreme power in your words, in your day-to-day life. Everything that you say, it's the butterfly effect, and that's in one of my poems I'll be sharing later. But
Excellent.
um, like things have such a huge impact, so that does affect me because Like, for example, on my Instagram, I do have sad poems and I have poems that are deep, which I do share for in-person crowds more. But on Instagram, I don't want to just keep adding to the negativity that I see on social media. So it's important for me to use my platform to try to like raise vibration up.
Right,
Um, it's also important to be raw and vulnerable because I don't want to just be fake and say I'm happy all the time because that's a load of shit. You
right,
know,
exactly.
that's life and that's beautiful, the ups and downs. But I think it is important because all of us have so much power. If we knew how powerful our actions were, we would act differently. So from performing and, just gaining this experience, I don't just go up there and say anything anymore. I'm definitely more precise with what I share
Right,
and
right.
where I share it.
Right. Yes, I'm definitely in full agreement with that because I believe that when you write and when you perform, it's important to be transparent because it's through the transparency that you're able to connect with your audience and and able to better, see you for who you are and pull something from whatever it is you're sharing at any particular moment. And with that being said, when you perform your work, what has the reception to your work been like? Like, what are some of the comments you get when people read or hear you perform your poetry?
Mm. So sometimes people cry. That could happen a lot. Other times, like people will tell me that's what they needed to hear. Other times they'll tell me like women will come up to me and tell me like they've experienced and men that they've experienced certain things I've experienced in relationships or even in a sexual nature. They've had those feelings like people really relate. And I think one thing that really sticks out to people is that I'm very vulnerable when I perform
Mhm.
and I try to really show people how I'm feeling and in hopes that it will let them let their guard down so they can let themselves feel whatever hurt they're feeling so they can let it go.
Right, right. That's excellent. That's excellent. And would you say when you perform or share your work, do you find it to be a sense of like, do you find a sense of release, a sense of healing, or find it to be therapeutic when you share your work?
Absolutely, because I really connect with the crowd. I like can feel the crowd's energy and I look into people's eyes. So like I'll know when like if I'm sharing one poem like who it's hitting, who needs to hear that. And I'll give them a couple looks. Like I'll be able to sense into that. And that's just like it's powerful to do that. What was your question again? I feel like I went off somewhere.
No, no, you're good. It's like the reception to your work. Like when people hear you read your poetry and perform your
Oh,
poetry, like what is
yes.
their commentary?
Yes. Um, it is a very big sense of release, and it feels good to like just be vulnerable like that. It's not easy to do, and yeah, it's hard to do. It takes strength to do, but every time I do it, I feel stronger because it's not easy to do. Get in front of people and share your deepest fears or
Mhm.
whatever you're feeling, your deepest emotions, things you've been through, but it feels right for me. So I can't explain it. Like I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. So it
Right,
just feels good.
right. Do you feel that this is your purpose, more or less? Would you say?
I do.
Mhm. Excellent, excellent. Now you perform in all of these places, Ireland, Mexico. It's like that. Those are awesome accomplishments. Did you ever feel that your poetry would take you to these places? Was that your intention, or was this something that just happened that took you by surprise?
So I never performed in Ireland, but the show that I did start, someone took that and is continuing in Ireland. But I did perform in Mexico. And ironically, I started performing in Mexico.
Wow.
So after like when COVID was happening, I was like, I was working remotely and I decided to move to Mexico. Just take a
Wow.
leap of faith. And that's when I started writing. I never thought that would translate to me getting on stage. I didn't connect those two, but in Tulum, Mexico, where I was living, there is like a huge art scene, and people were encouraging me to just get up there, just get up there. And I'm the kind of person that it's like, if you're scared, that means you should do it, even though it's uncomfortable. So I had that sense that I need to like break past this.
Right.
So my poetry career and spoken word career began in Mexico. And that's when I started a show out there, and it actually started building momentum. And then I came home, and that's when I brought it back here.
Wow, that's excellent. That's excellent. Now, yeah, while you're working on this book, when do you feel it will be ready to share with the world? Or is that known, or it's still like you're not sure, like it's still in progress?
In a dream world, I would publish the book this year.
Mhm.
But just when I think I'm like getting closer, I'm like, no, no, like I have so many poems and so many notebooks everywhere. And I had just, it's really a question mark
Right,
for
right.
me.
Are you involved in any other projects besides your own book? Like, have you contributed to any anthologies?
I have not.
Is that something that
Actually,
is that something that you're looking to do or hoping to do?
actually, I have contributed to a couple other projects, but it was like a couple years ago, and I really don't remember. I did some for people who work with special needs. They like made a book for the workers, but I don't remember what the name of that is, and I'm not really sure where that led to. Um, but in due time, I'm getting out there.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I believe that provides the perfect segue to the next segment, because now it's time for Gabriella to take the mic. So at this time, you're going to have space to do up to 5 poems of your choosing that will essentially give our audience an idea of who you are and what your writing is all about. So at this time, the floor is yours.
Okay, here we go. So I will take you guys on a little roller coaster. This first poem is my ode to poetry. Prior poetry, I rested like foam on wavy waters, unable to dive deep into the womb of my oceans. Poetry was the push I needed to discover the vibrant, animated, electric being that beated beneath my shells were rose petal pearls that grew from camouflage shadows I swam over till I dove. With every poem, I unearthed cenotes, shrouded beauty in the womb of my waters, pulled toward the stars from the waves set in motion by the tidal currents that all began with just one poem. That's the first one. Professional basketball player turns professional accountant. Instead of dribbling, I juggle work. Stressed vertebrae from sitting all day. Black eye, no contact. Blazing fire in my chest. Unsure where to aim if it's not a ball. I sacrificed my feet, my ankles, my knees, my back, my wrists, my fingers, my social life, my fucking everything. I'd rather shatter my nose again than my heart. Tied up my shoes. Knots reside in my stomach. And not the type I can just roll out in this cubicle. Coach told me the real world would be harsh. I just never thought I'd reach the day to find out. Grieving true love. Broken. And no, not from the scars. From our part. Basketball? Who am I without you? This next one is called Grasp of Moses. Thank you, Noel. Plagued soul, pounding migraine residing in my skull, waiting for exile in a desert where there is no Moses. Rattled like the Sinai snakes, split like the Red Sea. I am you, you are we. A soul, intertwined like rainbows, made from reflections on the horizon. Contrary caterpillar, butterfly. To only hear these vibrations slip off my lips is like a buttery hand toiling to grasp. Rather, rest your windows to the world and feel my depths. That is yours. That is ours. Protect your core, from intruders and heal the ocean's reefs by diving inward. The butterfly effect. Butterfly, butter cry, butter hands. Can you grasp? Split the seas of your heart and allow your soul to lead you to the promised land. Okay, this is a short one. If I die tomorrow, the only aspect of my flesh I'd wish for you to remember are my eyes. That's a very short one. And this is the last one I will share with you guys. I recently represented Staten Island for New York City Voices, so that is what inspired this poem. This is called Staten Island 16. Lemon creaks, baby blue sea in his eyes, sunshine ray waves. I met you at Roses in West Brighton, drunk off backyard kegs and 3 half-filled red cups. In luck, my eyes laid on those baby blues. Sparks flew, souls kissed, planets aligned, and galaxies of love grew. 16, me and you. Hearts like roots interlocked, fingers, toes kissed, submarine submerged into the soul of you. Winter's no longer blue. We drew our names in the snow. Ciro's pizza, Nets games, and s'mores. Fire pit ignited when your lips braised my marshmallow frosted cheeks. Pharaoh boy from the north side. Baby blue eyes, Irish button nose, beer loving simple spirit. I, the A+ athlete. You, the C- sinking into tobacco and late nights on Forest Ave. You brought fun to my days of strenuous training for Ivy League dreams. I'll never forget that June moon. Sky was shining, a hollow hue. 17, me and you. Strawberries and Smirnoff. Bad ideas with good intentions. You egged the fucker who stole from my dad. Egg collided with wood, yolk decorated the door. 4 legs jetted, egg accelerating at 500 miles per hour. Fumes flied, filled with endless giggles. High in love, summer nights, Some rise with tequila, fake IDs, parked jeeps by the fire, hearts glued. 18, me and you. No shortage on love, but our paths grew distant. One stoner and one scholar. Interest shifts sea floors, strong winds, waves crashed. Surrounded by water on all three sides, forced into surrender by the high tides. Now, it's been 8 years. Me and your memory. Sunsets at Wolf Ponds Park are not everlasting, but you are. Rising when the wind blows just right. I remember the baby blue sea in your eyes, sunshine ray waves, and sometimes I wish to go back for a day.
Wow, wow, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, those were the poetry selections by Gabriella Stella. Wow, awesome, awesome poetry. Thank you so much for sharing. That was
You're
excellent.
welcome. Thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move right into our next segment of this episode, which is our Q&A session. So at this time, if anyone in the audience has a question or comment for Gabriella, you can unmute yourself and give your question or comment at this time.
What do you guys have for me?
Don't be shy.
Nobody?
Don't be shy.
No, don't be shy. Okay, Mark.
No, I want to say first, I love your energy, love your poetry. It's great. Inspiring me for sure, rather. Where are you going to be performing next? You got anything in mind? Where's your next performance?
So my next big performance is August 12th at the Triad Theater in New York City.
Ooh. Oh, okay. That's where.
Excellent.
That's
it's
great.
Off Broadway. I'm really excited about it, so you should come.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's where I've seen Leah V perform there. That's great. That's great. Yeah, we've been there. August 12th. Got to mark it on my calendar for sure.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
Wow, that's excellent. That's excellent. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Now, I have a good question. If you could collaborate with any poet, living or deceased, who would it be and why?
That's a really good question.
Does anyone in particular stand out to you?
That's such a good question.
Is it a
Like
case
10 different people came to my mind.
Right. I was gonna say, is there more than one? Because that could make it kind of tough, huh?
That can make it kind of tough. But I guess if I just have to give you one, there's a singer-songwriter that I really like. And she's not mainstream, so I don't think you guys are gonna know her. But her name is Fia, and she has like a very healing, like she makes like really healing, like spiritual music.
Right.
And I would like love to collaborate with her. Maybe she'll see this one day. I'll send this to her.
Hey, you never know. Anything's possible. Now, what do you hope to accomplish with your work? Like, is there one particular goal or like an aspiration that you have for your work?
You know, I really just want to. I kind of let God guide me really at what He wants and where He wants me to go, because if it was up to me, I would just like hide a little bit more in the corner. But He's calling me to do other things, so like I have to continuously get out of my comfort zone. But I just want my work to spread as far and wide as it's supposed to.
Right.
And that might call for a lot of courage out of me. But however big he wants this to go, and wherever I get called to go, I'm just gonna keep going. My foot is on the gas.
Mhm.
Like I said, Rupi Kaur inspires me.
Right.
She's touring the world doing what she loves, and I would love to be like on a big stage like that, filled out arena performing poetry. Like I
Right.
feel like the world needs art, and poetry is like a pioneer for art. It's a time of the signs. So
Mhm.
there's something special about poetry. You're not hiding behind anything. It's literally you and the microphone.
Right.
Um, and I just want to just bring poetry to a more of a mainstream crowd, you know?
Right. Yeah, definitely, definitely. That's definitely an awesome goal to pursue for sure. I see, Mark, you had another question for Gabriella?
Yes, yes. I have a question. Have you ever had like writer's block? What do you do about that?
So I have had writer's block in the sense that I just wasn't writing as much poems as I would like to. Um, I think what I do about that is I just carve out some more time to write, you know, like sit with it. I sit with whatever I'm feeling. Usually writer's block for me is because I'm not able to process what I'm feeling. That's what it is, because I can't get the emotions out on paper. So for me, that just calls for like more downtime, relaxation time, because life is like chop, 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 chop. Once you like take some time to relax and like settle, get less tense, then for me, whatever needs to come through will come through.
Mhm. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, great question, Mark. Thank you for sharing that. Now let's spend a couple of minutes talking about, the process of you breaking out of your comfort zone. Like, what exactly was the process of that? What exactly was that process like for you? And what advice do you have for our audience in finding the will to break out of your comfort zone?
Mm. Getting out of your comfort zone sucks. Like it doesn't matter if you're a famous poet already, like you're always going to be faced with something that gets you out of your comfort zone, whether you have performed one time or you performed 30. My first 30 times performing poetry, I was shaking the whole time, like literally 30 times. But I told myself, you have to keep going. You have to keep going. Speaking in front of people was literally my biggest fear, and I still get nervous to do it. That's why I love poetry, because I feel like that's how I can express myself, is like through writing. But when you're verbally expressing it, it's a little bit more challenging, and public speaking is very scary. But what I would say is like with anything is you literally have to keep going. I've performed now maybe 50 to 60 times. There's always a new challenge. Right now, I'm working with J Rose, who's helping me level up my poetry brand. She told me to post something, show people the real Gabby. Super out of my comfort zone. I posted a reel. I was nauseous after.
Mhm.
Seriously, like it's uncomfortable every time I have to like every time you grow a little bit more, it's like, like it feels like you're jumping off a cliff, and that's not going to change.
Right.
So it's really just getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. Like become friends with fear, become friends with failure. Like failure is literally your best friend,
Mhm.
because it goes hand in hand. Like people who can't accept failure, people who care, who let other people's opinions affect them too much, they never grow. They stay
Right.
in the same place. And it's not because fear is easier for me to face. It's not. Like
Right.
it's just that I keep doing it even though it sucks. You know what I mean? Like that's it.
Well, what is it? What is it like for you? You're talking about, the whole, we're dealing with the whole process of stepping out of your comfort zone. But what is that, along with that, while you're performing, it's like, what is that, what is that whole experience like for you when you get on the stage and you're performing your piece, and then you're seeing the audience reaction? It's like, what is the atmosphere like for you while, in the process of trying to come out your comfort zone. What is that like? Is it, are you like, is it like, are you full of energy? Is it more so fear? It's like, what feelings do you experience when you take the stage?
So it's a combination of excited and nervousness. Before every single one of my basketball games, I felt this, and it's because like, you care about something. So I've learned that it's a good thing that you care. And also, like, anxiety could also feel like excitement. So that feeling in your stomach, like, it's also excitement. It's not just anxiety. So I know that, like, before I get on stage, I'm gonna feel that. I felt it before every basketball game, and I played hundreds of basketball games.
Right.
So that just comes with it. But once I get on stage, maybe the first poem will be like a little bit nervous, but then it just feels so good, Once I am getting into it and I'm just sharing my heart and I'm connecting with the crowd, it's an amazing feeling. Like, it really truly is special for me.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I can attest to that. When you're focused on giving your best self in your performance, there is a difference when you're just being who you choose to be for yourself and sharing your heart, with your audience. There's definitely a sense of fulfillment and accomplishment, when you know you've given your best, when you're giving your best self on the stage and, and on paper. It really does make a difference.
Absolutely. It does. It does.
Excellent. Are there any other projects or performances that you would like to make note of to our audience tonight?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, on August 12th, I have the performance at the Triad Theater. I'm currently working on a project. It's called Poetry in Motion. So I'm collaborating with a videographer, and he's going to be making like a video to one of my poems. It's going to be really cool. It's was a grant given to Staten Island, and Thomas Fucularo, he's very big in the poetry scene on Staten Island. He gave me this opportunity, which I'm really grateful for. So right now, those are the two biggest things I have coming up. And also, the House of Expression will be performing at the New York City Poetry Festival on July 30th.
Oh,
So right now, those three, along with, every week I'm doing like podcasts here or there, along with a bunch of other things. But those are the three biggest things I have right now.
excellent, excellent. Yeah, those sound very exciting, and I wish you all the best, with those events and projects that you have coming up. That's great news. That's great news.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, where can you be found on social media?
So you can find me on Instagram at Team Gab, Team GAB. I'm also on Facebook too. I don't go on there as much, so I would say if you have Instagram, connect with me there. And that's my biggest platform right now.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Well, as we close out this episode, there's just one more thing that I like to do, as I do with all of my guests, and that is to say thank you. First and foremost, Gabriella, thank you so much. Excellent conversation, excellent poetry without question. Thank you for your transparency and, and the emotion that you put into your writing. It's very original, very heartfelt. And I'm sure our audience, as well as myself, was very pleased with what you had to share. And I wish you much success with your future endeavors. Stay tuned for our next episode with who happens to be on online tonight right now, Mr. Mark Turpin. He will be my next guest coming up next week, Thursday, June 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Zoom. You don't want to miss that episode. For those of you if you haven't already, connect with Poets with Purpose on Facebook, also on Twitter @PoetsWPurpose, YouTube channel of the same name. I can also be found on Clubhouse @The Anointed Pen. For more information about Poets with Purpose and the P.W.P sessions, you can give me a call at 646-372-6230, or you can email me at poetswithpurpose@gmail.com. All of my flyers and logos were designed by the excellent team at Eclipse Graphics. You can find them on Instagram @Eclipse Graphics NY. And lastly, for those of you that would like to make a donation, you can do so through PayPal, Tap Media Man, Cash App, $The Anointed Pen, or through Zelly utilizing my phone number. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap for episode 19. Thank you so much, Gabriella. Thank you to my audience. This episode will be uploaded to the Poets with Purpose YouTube channel within the next hour or so. So be on the lookout for that. So you will be able to take the link and share it amongst your social media followers. Thank you so much for being my guest, Gabriella. Thank you so much to my audience. Thank you all for your support. Have a good night and God bless. Thank you.
Good night. Good job, Gab. Good night, everybody.